Alright, it's Mike. I'm back again. I'm about to start brick number 2 from Icons of the Realms, the Storm King's Thunder. But before I do, I would like to give a little follow-up to the first brick. As I opened them, I didn't take the time to attach the weapons. So now when you go back to the Cloud Giant, you can see the sword is attached. Actually, probably should have taken the time to put it in for you in the first video. I didn't use any glue or any drilling, nothing like you'd use with the metal miniature. I just simply pushed tab A into slot B and attached the weapons, and that's the same thing I did for the Fire Giant. Also, deserving of special mention, when I was looking at the Yuan Ti, I had mentioned that the Serpent Folk eyes, you know, you want to get really close. They should be slitted like a snake's, and very impressively, when I took her out into some natural light, her eyes actually are completely painted. So, very well done. A very well done miniature. Okay, so it was follow-up to brick 1. Let me get started on brick 2. Alright. So again, just to recap, if you didn't see the first one, I did buy an entire case from the miniatures market. That's 32 boxes for a total of 128 miniatures. I paid $325, which is roughly $3.25 a model. So even when you're talking about something as small as the Brain Devourer or something as large as a Giant, you're really only talking about $2.53 a piece. So on to brick 2. I expect at this point I'm going to start running into a lot more doubles. Brick 1 was very nice. I only got one double. Unfortunately, it was a special character. Alright, so again I have another Frost Giant, but as I take her out, I'm gonna show one reason why I'm very happy with these miniatures still. Okay. This was the first one I got, and this is the second Frost Giant. So while I got the same Frost Giant in the same pose, I at least got a different weapon option. Also, the armor is painted darker on the one here with the axe than this one. So there is some differentiation. So again, as you get doubles, you can still be pleased. And in this case, I am, because I don't consider that to be an exact double. It means there's enough variety and some thought went into this. Also, it's just a nice miniature, and Frost Giants being violent, you're going to run into more of them. Okay. Very small miniature. I know this is one of the options, usually for sorcerers. It's not an imp. It's a very similar creature. I can't think of the name of it off the top of my head. Kind of looks like Stitch from Lilo and Stitch, for those of you who are parents. Alright, it's not a large or outstanding miniature. It's not very striking, but again, it's unique. You're not going to have anything like this from any other collection, so no disappointment here. As I said, as we go through brick number 2, I expect to hit more and more duplicates. Here's a second yokel as we get into it. Off the top of my head, I've never encountered a group of yokels, so I'm not sure if I really need a second one. So I won't go over that one too much, as we've already looked at the first one. Okay, I can already tell this is another one of the 3 Keen. We've already opened 2 of these, and if I pull them up real quick, see if we have a variety of weapons options. So of the 3 that I have 2 weapon options, which means this one here is a duplicate, but whenever I get duplicates of a humanoid, there is a use for them. They're not encountered individually, so that's good. That's what I want to get duplicates of. Maybe that's also because I used to be a big Warhammer player, and I used to buy everything in units of 20, 30, or even 40. Alright, so here's another duplicate, this time for my large. We just looked at the completed Fire Giant. This is the same one with the same sword as his weapon option. So this is a duplicate storm giants, you're not as likely as, say, a frost giant to run into multiples, but this is still a useful miniature. And just so you don't have to go thumbing all the way back through, it's the same fire giant I brought up just a moment ago, and that's what this one will look like once I put the sword on. Okay, another duplicate again, the Hellhound. Once again, I don't have any other Hellhounds besides the one I opened in brick number 1. The paint job is good. Like I said the first time through, if you look at the almost neon orange paint that they used, I like the lines. I like the idea behind how they put this together. It does look like he's breathing flames, both in his lungs and along the sides of his face. A nice miniature that I don't mind having a duplicate of. Alright, now whenever you buy multiple bricks, you do start to run into this. This is the third time, and I still can't say the name, Kazi Alphalandra, the special character. I now have 3 of her. So unless, when I get to the actual encounter in the book, unless there's a call for her and a bunch of characters that look like her, so far I have 3 of something I probably only need 1 of. So that is the downside to buying 132 models all at once when there are only 44 in the entire range. Okay, Cleef Kenrick. Looks like a human paladin, or at least fighter of some sort. A nice looking miniature. Again, I like when I get a variety of characters that I can use as an adventurer as well as a specific character in an adventure. Any one of the guys I play with would be happy to use this as a human fighter and or paladin. So that was box number 1. So let me reiterate just a few of the comments I did make in video number 1, and I'm pleased with, very pleased if you've watched the first video. If you haven't, go through it. There's some miniatures there that you probably won't see in this one. But what I would like to point out a second time is the fact that these are very well packaged miniatures. So the Fomorian, one I was hoping to get duplicates of when I got duplicates, and I did. You've already seen me open him in brick number 1. But of the giant races, Fomorians being evil and not quite as strong as other giants, I expect that during the adventure I will encounter more than one at a time, but I'm not sure about that. I just know that I kind of like the Fomorians. Alright, so as you go through, they do have what they call invisibles. So this would be the same Kazi Alphalandra as an invisible miniature. So this is probably a rare or even very rare miniature to get. And these are usually pretty highly sought after if you look at some of the other lines they've had in the past. And it is an interesting take. No one has ever really made invisible characters before, so if you're in an adventure and you cast invisibility, you could actually have something that shows it. And here's the Scarecrow again. As much as I've been impressed with most of the miniatures, I think this one only qualifies as okay. I think the face, when you look at it from that angle, is nice. But I do think that the straw is not very clearly defined. It almost just looks like long hair pulled back. Maybe this was a hard miniature to make. But I just feel like it's a gray humanoid with long hair. Wouldn't mind fighting them though. Alright. So back to the 3 Keen again. Now you notice this one has a slightly bent spear. These are made of soft plastic. I haven't had too many difficulties in the past trying to fix that. So this one's a duplicate of one I got on the first brick. Let's see if there's a good technique for getting the soft plastic to bend back. Possibly what I'll do is put it alongside a table and put something flat like a book on there. In the past that's worked. I had a dragon that had bent wings, and all I did was lay the dragon on its back and put a book under just, well, I'm sorry, over just the tops of the wing tips, and that did the trick. And it didn't even take that long. So another duplicate, as to be expected, but this one, so we've already seen the first Cloud Giant. Here's going to be the difference, and this is something I do appreciate. There is an alternative hand and weapon option. So in this case, this one looks like more of a mage. Now, this is what she'll look like when she's assembled. Sorry, he. Double check that. Yep, he, but with a staff. So there is a good variety there. And I'll take that out later, and you'll probably see her fully assembled when I get to brick 3. Okay. So, got my third yokel now. We've already seen this one twice before. I don't see how I'll use 3 of them. Maybe that's something I'll look to trade or move along at some point. Okay. Githyanki, I went and looked that up after I couldn't remember the name in the first video. It's Githyanki. This one's also a duplicate, but this one looks like some type of spellcaster with flaming hand. It could be a fireball even being prepared to be cast. Not a bad miniature at all. And with humanoids, it's a little bit easier for me to just pass that off as a regular combatant in any kind of adventure. Okay. Last from this one is another Kenku, and this is a duplicate as well. Still a nice miniature, and I don't have too many Kenku at all for something that I'll probably encounter in at least small pack size. So I consider that to be a nice, useful miniature. Also, whenever I have a creature like a Kenku, I do like getting multiples because no other company has any other options out there. I don't have any alternatives for a substitute product. Alright. This seems like I'm getting a very, very nice mix of miniatures, and that is the strength of buying a case. WizKids goes through the trouble of trying to get, I don't know what little algorithm they run as things come off the production line, but they try to do a good job of not getting you too many duplicates within the same brick or within the same case. So in this case, I now have 2 hill giants, but I also have a nice little bit of variety there. One has a stone or a bone club with a spear point at the end. This one has a tree limb with a rock to make it a club at the end. So always nice to get that variety. You also look at it, it doesn't really look like it, but even as I'm staring at these from behind, there's a slightly different paint job that makes the arms even look different. Like this one looks like he has some scars. He has brown pants, this one has green pants. And so it does still give a little bit of variety for what is essentially the same miniature. So, hill giants are one you're going to need multiples of, and I wouldn't have cared if I got a duplicate miniature, but it's nice that they went to the effort to give me some variety in there. Alright, this one looks like it's going to be another pixie. Alright, we've seen this one before. It's probably very difficult for you to see on camera. I like how they used the clear green plastic for the wings. It does give that little fairy effect. I also really like the flying stands that the miniatures come with, and the fact that they're already attached. Also makes it very nice for gamers to take something out of the box that's ready for use. Now, if you didn't see me open up brick 1, that brings me up to 3 pixies total, but in 2 different varieties. So that's not bad at all. Pixies travel in groups. Alright, another special character, Crag Ungart. Now, I want to take a moment Alright, so when I look at this one, it has the same dark line across the face. Now, the fact that 2 of them have that, if you can get really close and see that, makes me think that it actually is part of the character. I was a little worried on the first one that maybe it was a defect. Now I'm not sure. Well, I wasn't with the first one either. Have to read a little bit of background story to know what the deal is. If it's a defect, well, then it's a defect. But the fact that it's across two of them makes me think that there's some background history there. Okay, now we've already opened this guy. This is the same human fighter slash possibly a paladin. It's not bad to get too many. If you were in a less dynamic pose, he could play nicely as a generic human fighter or a man-at-arms when you come into an encounter. But with that kind of dynamic pose, he looks more like the captain of the guard. I'm not really sure how I'd use two of them. Alright, so this looks like another fire giant, but in a completely different pose with a completely different weapon. Has a crown on his head, so I'm thinking this is some type of special character, possibly a fire giant king. We'll find that out on the bottom. Nope, the bottom just says fire giant. Good looking miniature, nice paint job. I like the dented large armor. Just to give you a little size comparison, this one does seem to be smaller than the previous fire giant, but will not look bad at all when flanked by two. Very imposing if you're a group of characters and you come across three fire giants. And also, just to help again reiterate the scale, you see a regular 28mm human fighter next to the giant. So something that's really nice is that giants are giants in this box. Okay, a second Dark Mantle, but that's good. I actually ran across these in Rage of the Demons, and our party had a really difficult time with them. There's magical darkness that they cast. They have not dark vision, but they have can't even think of the ability right off the top of my head, but they can see you even when blinded and you can't see them. Makes them difficult to fight. And they do attack you in groups, so never a complaint to get doubles of something I can use. Solara Than. I'm not familiar with who this character is going to be. Some type of human female fighter or paladin. Not a bad looking miniature at all. Getting real close to the face, almost looks like lost in the eye and has a line of blood running down the face. I don't think that's a defect. Have to go through the adventure and find out. I'm not here to give spoilers. Not sure who or even what this guy is. Obviously an antagonist. He's cut someone's head off. Not a ridiculous amount of gore or something you might see in a Games Workshop miniature with the bloody sword and skulls and the head torn off. Kind of an intriguing miniature. It makes you wonder what the background story is. Looks like somebody some sculpture really captured what's going on. And now that I get up close, and I'm looking at the front myself, I have to take back what I said about not too many skulls. Those are skulls for knee pads and shoulder pads. That's okay. At least they're not standing on a throne of skulls and a pile of skulls. Okay, and again, I continue to open giants and larges that I don't already have, to the point where I'm very surprised at the variety, and by the time I get to brick 3, I'll have to have run out of options. But what this does tell you is that WizKids does a pretty good job of giving you a good mix. So this is Countess Sansuri, and I'm going to need to put her arm on, because it's not a very impressive miniature without the arm. But hold on one second, I'll get that out. And notice, if you can, how dynamic this model is. Makes her very unique. So, I'm always impressed when I get a model this dynamic and unique, but it does give me a touch of concern that if I get a duplicate of her in brick 3 or 4, I won't be as happy because you can't pass this off as a generic cloud giant. That said, that's a very nice cloud giant. Alright, getting down to the smallest from that last box. Looks like I have another Devourer. We talked about these in brick 1. This, I think, is an okay miniature. It does capture the Dungeons and Dragons imagery, but it's not a wholly impressive assailant, in my opinion. Not something I probably need duplicates of, and so far out of 2 bricks, I have 2 of them. I would have been content with 1. Such is life. Alright, back to the Yuan Ti. This is one I brought up last time, or sorry, at the beginning of this video for a special mention for how finely they painted the eyes. So that is nice. They really went to capture that detail. This is a duplicate. This is the second one I have. Okay. Right, and again, the name is Craig Ungart. We already talked about her a couple times. And also this one, this version has the line down across the face, so I don't think it's a manufacturer defect. I think that's a part of the character itself. Now we're down to the very last box of brick number 2. Pull out another cloud giant. I'm sorry, another stone giant. I think I called him a cloud giant last time. It's not a cloud or cloud giant, it's a stone giant. The stone giants they've made awfully spindly. I don't think that's quite how thin they are in the monster manual. These look a little bit like the zombies from the Will Smith movie. Pretty tall, pretty lanky. You know, in retrospect, I do like the miniature overall, but I wish they had thickened it up a little bit and reshaped the head. I guess, let me just point that out again. Maybe the head's supposed to look like a stalactite. I guess maybe that was what they were going for, because that's almost what it looks like to me. Yeah. As far as the larges go, I know I'm going to get more and more duplicates as I go along, but that's not bad. Alright, here we go. Not sure why we got a pirate. I don't know everything that's going to happen in this adventure. So, it's the Bandit Captain, right out of the Monster Manual itself. It's a pretty good looking miniature. And it's a nice generic miniature. I wouldn't mind multiples, even though it says Bandit Captain. This would make a good thug, good pirate, pretty generic character. It's the first I have of him. Won't mind if I get duplicates at all. Alright. So another one, another variant of the Yuan Ti, this one with snakes for the arms. I like that. That's a unique miniature. That's pretty impressive. And as small as the snake heads are, you know right away that those are snake heads. So, I also have to say, now that I'm getting a better look along with you, I even like the coloring. I even like the fact that it's a light purple, violet loincloth that just adds a little color to the miniature so it's not too dark. It also makes me want to fight something that has snakes for arms. And lastly, for brick number 2 is Giant Toad. And we did get a Giant Toad in brick number 1. Maybe I'll have to write something, take over and DM the next game, and have a swarm of giant toads attack the characters, just for a little bit of comedy effect. Alright, well, thank you for sticking with me to the end. And as you see, as we pan over, out of 2 bricks, We have quite a collection of giants and smaller humanoids, and I'll probably rearrange this so the humanoids are up front. But you can see, so far that's 2 bricks. Thank you.